some resources. And here we are. We are live once again, everybody, at the Canadian Bro Show. Thank you very much for joining the Canadian Bro Show podcast. This is a brand new episode, and we're really excited. This is episode 71. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. And let's get into, we've got a very special, talented guest joining us today, and I'm very excited about that in our pre-show, getting to meet her the first time. The co-host of one of the most charismatic and talented, prolific writers, just an extraordinary human being in general, is Mr. Johnny Leister, the co-host of the Canadian Bro Show. Johnny.
Absolutely fine, Paul.
Johnny is the only person. So just people, if this is your first time here, we've got about 130 videos, and Johnny and I focus on Canadian pop culture. This episode's going to fall into our health and well-being series. And we've done about 8 or 9 episodes, and really excited on this one because we haven't delved into this topic at all, and it's a topic that a lot of people have it difficult with. But Johnny's going to introduce our guest very shortly. Johnny is the only person I know that has his own studio in the Vancouver Public Library.
Right.
And I still don't know why they allow him. He must just give them money, beer, food, Subway, coupons. I'm not really sure, Johnny. But Johnny, take it away, and please give a really lovely and kind introduction to our guest today. I'm very excited. Go ahead, Johnny.
Me too. All right. Well, our guest is the legendary Kaylin Marianne Kirk, whom I've known since, I want to say, the late 1980s. Marianne, also known as Kaylin, worked at the comic shop back in the day. She currently lives in Williams Lake and recently survived, of all things, a near-death experience. And we want to hear about this story, Marianne, and how you recovered, and what advice would you give to people who have been through a similar ordeal?
Well, what happened?
Well,
let's find out what happened, Mary. I mean, my goodness, This is crazy, and it was just a very short time ago. Okay, I'm all ears.
I'm lucky, and thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored to be your first female guest.
Our first female bro. This is historic.
So I am really lucky to be here, but also, you're right, I am very fortunate just to be alive. It was not something that you always expect, and it's not my first near-death experience, but the other two are different. They were not a result of an accident, but because of medical things. I'm a cancer survivor, and also I had almost died from a different complication that happened about 7 years after that, and really died, and so it does change you. And this one was a little bit different. I was just on my way after school. It was supposed to be my first evening of spring break. I am a teacher, and I was exhausted from the term, and I thought, well, before I start my spring break, I'll do my recycling and bring my recycling and garbage out, because I don't have anything picked up where I live. I live in the outskirts of Williams Lake, and so you have to take it all the way to a transfer station out in the country. So I thought, I'll do that first. Anyway, on my way there, suddenly a big truck just came flying around a curve, and like there's all these little curves, and I'd slowed down, but he did not, and I had a second of shock to realize he was in my lane and right over the double lines, and I didn't have a moment even to brake, swerve, or anything, and there was a steep embankment on one side anyway. It's just 2-lane road, and he just smashed right into me, bam, and sent me off the road down the embankment. And it was just, I still having trouble with that part, because I still relive that moment of impact, and it's kind of a sickening feeling.
Wow. I mean, I just got to stop you right there. Let's stop you right there, because let that sink in for a moment. And let's talk about who is this lovely lady that's joined us today, and how did Johnny and Marianne, they met in you said the 80s, the early 80s.
That's hard to remember.
So when Johnny mentioned in the intro a comic shop, in Vancouver we've had a number of comic shops through a number of different neighborhoods, but in Kitsilano the comic shop went from one location to the next location to the next.
One of the first in North America, right?
It was at that time. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, especially of a historical nature with Keith Bickford, who's been on our show twice, and Marianne knows Keith, and they work together, and Johnny and Keith were best friends in Kitsilano, and Keith and I used to walk to school at St. Augustine's in the morning for 6 years. Well, he actually left St. Augustine's after 3 years, but so we all know each other from the same time. There's a parallel universe that we were all at some time maybe buying a comic from me and myself from Marianne, because my grandmother and Uncle Stefan had a vitamin store a block up. So here we are in the 80s, 90s, and 21st century, and we're all practically seniors now. And Johnny, when was the first time do you remember meeting Marianne? Give us some context.
I vaguely remember walking into the comic shop one day and seeing this unbelievably gorgeous and stunningly beautiful woman working behind the till. And I remember thinking, what's wrong with this picture? There's only boys and very nerdy, maladjusted and maladroit men who wear the pants
Maladroit.
their nipples. And, the masking tape between the glasses like Spaz from Meatballs. And I think that every guy who gazed upon Marianne when they walked into the store instantly fell in love with her, because she was so kind and so charming and down to earth. And I have to imagine that you felt a little bit of pressure back in the day, because I bet you got asked out a lot. I remember I was one of them.
Or asked out. Back then it was just hit on. Nobody has asked anybody, hey, you want to go to 7-Eleven for a Slurpee? Come over to my place in the Purple Light?
You turned me down, and that's fine. I got over it. After a few years of therapy, I recovered.
Oh dear.
No, well, Johnny, you've really handled it well over the decades.
About 90%. I only cried myself to sleep for a year or so, and then things got better.
Good Lord.
I'm so sorry.
Of course, I have to give you.
You're a heartbreaker, Marianne. You're a heartbreaker. You didn't even know it.
I probably weighed 245 pounds back then. I want to ask you about your first day at the comic shop.
Yeah.
How did you get that job? Was it hard for you as a child to like that stuff? Because I found it to be I felt like a weirdo for liking this stuff. I felt like a pariah, because all the boys were supposed to like hockey, and I grew up with Star Trek and comics and sci-fi. It was a different generation. Did you feel that pressure as a young girl?
As a young teenager, do you remember how old you were?
I started being interested in animation and when I was really little, into Disney and things like that, but also comic books from a very young age. And when I was a teenager, I discovered Star Trek. I lived up in the middle of nowhere.
Johnny.
We had very little to read, only one TV channel. And my grade 9 teacher, who moved up there with the portables, my mom was a teacher there, and we lived in portables next to a portable school in the coldest place in BC, called Puncy Mountain.
Like it moves around?
Yeah, and then we were and then he had the whole set of
bricks and mortar, bro. Modules.
Yeah, he had the whole set of James Blish Star Trek. Anyway, he got me into it. I read a lot of the episodes before I ever got to see them, but I became an instant Trekker.
Did you read those books?
And I already loved Star Wars when I was very little. It was my favorite movie when I was growing up, and so I already was a kind of a little oddball. So I already knew I was different from the regular kids, and I was definitely a tomboy. So I was way more interested in reading about heroes. My favorite book was Lord of the Rings. Still is.
I'm reading that now. I'm reading it.
When I was a kid, I loved things like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and
The Adventures of Narnia.
Yeah,
I don't imagine that you had a lot of girlfriends who liked this stuff. Now, the ones who are into Barbie dolls and chasing after boys, did they stigmatize you? Did they give you a hard time?
Oh, yeah, of course. Bullied, yeah.
I think
you knew about your hobbies, yeah. So I already had those feelings that I was like, I marched to a different drummer. I already knew that I wasn't like the regular girls, and very different from my twin sister, who was a bit more normal in a social way. But I was never embarrassed about it. I always just kind of proud, but now it's so mainstream to love this kind of stuff, but at the time it wasn't. So, and you feel very alone when you're isolated in a small community, liking that stuff, what you can get. I remember renting videos of Transformers cartoons from town so we could watch it on a VHS, because we didn't have a lot of cartoons.
Johnny, I mean, this is, you guys should have met a long time ago, bro.
This is not a dating service.
Who said that? I was ready to ask her who her favorite superhero is, but now I know who it is because I read your questions.
What was the one episode of Star Trek that you couldn't wait to watch again?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I loved all the whole hope for the future kind of thing. But also very attached to the characters and their friendships and their relationships and how they navigated, the danger, but also some of the more tricky and sticky questions that Star Trek is famous for. So
I would watch that show and I would think, why can't people be like this? We seem like why is it so hard? Captain Kirk doesn't run into the liquor store when the Klingons attack.
Because
right?
you don't have your own SS Enterprise and you're not in some distant solar galaxy.
I don't mean to play the world's smallest violin, but I grew up in a pretty abusive environment where my mom and dad, they're not here to defend themselves, but they just lost their minds over... There was no small crisis in my household growing up. Everything was apocalypse. So I'd watch shows like The Brady Bunch and Star Trek, and I think, why is it so hard?
Yeah.
Why can't people be... These are the gold standard of human beings. And I didn't see that in my personal life. I wasn't looking hard enough. Did you have those feelings?
Yeah, of course. And I found because of the escapist entertainment side of thing, for me, it was also, it was sort of like my drug of choice. I didn't get into drugs or alcohol or anything like that as a teenager, but it was this kind of stuff. It was almost like an addiction, I guess, because it kept me sane in a very difficult situation.
It was very therapeutic, right?
Very, very. Yeah. And it still is. So, yeah. So to answer your question, my favorite episode of Star Trek usually involved when you really had that recognition of beliefs that were so positive and optimistic, and also of the friendship. I really liked the friendship between the big three. My favorite episodes would be Sydney on the Edge of Forever. Time. The journey to Babel.
Those three actors were lightning in a bottle. The chemistry was just unreal.
I got to meet a couple of them at different Star Trek conventions over the years. I got a great photo with William Shatner once.
I saw that picture. I'm jealous. What did he say? Did he hit on you?
Of course not.
No? Come on.
I didn't actually hit on that much. I don't know why you're thinking that, but no, it didn't happen to me.
Hey, you have dinner with me. When did you realize that you liked comics? Remember?
Since I was a kid. I have a really early picture, even me as a 4-year-old reading a comic book with my mom. I was an early reader, and and I started collecting. I remember going to the corner store, and I lived in a dorm in the later years of high school, because our school in Punxsutawney only went up to grade 9, so we had to live in a dorm attached to the high school, and there was a corner store down there, and I would go and get comic books from there every week, and I still have them. I still have a fairly reasonably sized collection. It grew a lot bigger by working at the comic shop.
Now, what did your parents think about this? Say, what are we going to do with Marianne? She needs a house psychologist. Would it give you a hard time?
She was just trying to be herself, and which was much different from her sister, right?
I'm throwing all those comic books down the garbage can. I must have heard that 50 times growing up. But he likes a $6 Million Man. It was okay to watch that show, but if I read it too tight, he'd lose his mind.
Can you imagine if Keith actually dumped 100,000 plus comic books in Richmond's sewer drains? That would sink Richmond. It would just disappear. It would just disappear.
That would be a Roland Emmerich movie.
Can you imagine? That would be the most... we could have put that in our second episode of disaster attacks.
Yeah,
right?
That was our last show. We did disaster movies. So your parents were okay with you being a nerd?
I didn't. My father passed away, so I had my mom though, and she was okay. She was actually very supportive of us finding ourselves, and I was also trying to be more creative, and I had a dream of being a writer, so I would do a lot of writing.
Wow.
A lot to do, so I would write scripts for shows, and I could write short stories, and I didn't know what fan fiction was back then, but I'm sure I wrote some of that, because I just needed to write, and so I would do original things, and it was great. I should have been doing a bit more of my homework. I remember doing it. We had a year of correspondence. I don't know if you know what that is. You had to get your papers sent to you from Victoria and then mail them back and forth to your teacher. And so I'm working on a story about a unicorn instead of doing that my correspondence homework. But yeah, no, it was she was very supportive. And, I was pretty lucky that way. And she said, basically she wanted us to be happy, and so she was not judgmental, and
my mom was the same. My mom was
so much. Yeah.
What do you remember your first favorite author? When did you start reading novels? Did you feel kind of gradual? I stopped reading comics as a kid because I got tired of seeing the same villains over and over again.
In novels, I started as a kid, right? I remember reading Charlotte's Web, and I loved wolf dog stories and horse stories. I read Marguerite Henry, Misty, and all the Black Stallion books, and every Tarzan book. Anything that I could get my hands on, and I just loved all those kind of stories. And it wasn't until later that I realized I really like science fiction and fantasy a lot. They're my favorite genres. So
we just did our favorite science fiction space movies. Is going to be out just before your episode, and we had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, we had a writer on the show named Bobby Nash, who's a very prolific writer. He's written Star Trek. He wrote a Star Trek fan film.
Yeah, he did. He was actually he had a small scene in it or something.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's been on the show before. That was fun too. That was great.
I remember we made a fan film in when I was in Film Society at UBC.
Oh, right. And so before we get into this incredible story that just happened, this near-death experience that just happened recently, we'll get into it in detail. You've been a teacher and an educational expert for quite some time?
Yeah, I became officially a teacher. I was tutoring before that, as well as working at the comic shop, and I worked in the film industry. And I became a teacher, I think I got the degree in 1997.
Oh,
so
good for you.
97, 98. So I've been a teacher since then, but I did take 8 years off from teaching to work in the film and television industry when I came back to Vancouver.
Wow.
And then I went back to teaching because I kind of had...
And what can you elaborate a bit on that? What
years were that? Because
were you acting? Were you producing? How were you working?
I was not doing anything really. I did a little bit of acting, and I mostly was a production assistant, especially on the big shows, on the smaller Canadian productions. I have a film degree as well, so I did my education at UBC, and so I have a double major in my undergrad for of English and film and television studies. So I made short films of my own. And so I kept doing that for a while afterwards, short films.
That's very cool. Very cool. And what years were those were you in the film industry?
So I graduated from that program way back in 92. My film won.
I remember 92.
Yeah, I won so really cool. I started working then, and then when I went to become a teacher, and then I came back and did the film stuff between 2000 and 2008, and then I went back to teaching full time after that because the industry kind of collapsed for a little while, and there wasn't enough work, and I was starving. So I had teaching to fall back on, and I still love teaching. Don't get me wrong, but my dream was to do filmmaking, and I loved
cool.
I did acting, I did writing, but I also did a lot of technical stuff. I loved doing cinematography, camera assisting. So I did a lot of that on smaller productions.
All right. So now we've given people a little bit of...
Expo? You work on Expo?
Expo 86? That was before.
86. I was only in grade 11 at the time. But we came all the way down to the coast, and my grandparents lived in Portland at the time. And we went on the SkyTrain for the first time that year. And we visited times, but I was between grade 11 and grade 12 years for me.
Expo was like one of those special moments where I went there almost every day for 6 months, and I'll never I couldn't go a day without it because it was so much fun.
Well, you're lucky.
You really put Vancouver on the map.
I mean, spoiled rotten. We grew up in Kitts Beach. Vancouver's the most beautiful city in the world, in my opinion. It's not the greatest city.
I love the caribou, but I have to admit, I really miss Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver's amazing. When we rent our apartment downtown, if you're available and we'll give you a good deal, you're more than welcome. We'll rent it furnished. It's beautiful.
Okay. Marianne, tell us about the Williams Lake Studio Theater Society.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been. I was involved in it when I was a first-year teacher. I had my first 3 years of teaching up here. So it's so fun. It's a great community theater society. They put on usually 3 or 4 plays a year. We have a little studio theater at one of the old elementary schools, and it's really cute. We do all kinds of things. We're doing Shakespeare in the next coming season, and we do musicals usually at least one a year, and as well as dramas, and there's also the festival coming up, so sometimes we have a bit more. So I've been involved in acting, and I do a little bit of backstage as well for some productions. So I'm actually on a break right now in between things because I was doing 5 back-to-back in a row and I got a bit burnt out. But I love it. The people are just so awesome. It's like another home. You're kind of with your people, your peeps. A lot of people are very, very creative and talented in this town.
It's nice to be around
to be part of them. Right? So, I got
cool plays. Right? That's great. So did you do any directing? Did you direct any of those plays?
I haven't directed any plays. The only plays I've ever directed were school plays in my last school in Vancouver. I directed Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Wizard of Oz, and Twelfth Night for Children. But like, yeah, I might one day pitch something. I'm too busy teaching to be able to give that kind of time to. It takes a lot to direct, and so I might one day, but I'm not there yet. But I'm hoping to be involved in at least one production next season, maybe two.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Fantastic. This is kind of a left field question, just kind of out of the ether. You're on a deserted island. You have your phone. You have 3 movies on your phone. What are they?
You know, I thought that's a hard question. I'm a huge movie.
Well, that's why I sent it.
Yeah, it depends how much battery you have left in your phone too, right?
Well, you can watch it as well.
Classic ancient movie from film school. It was The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman.
Oh, wow.
I like some really old stuff like that.
That was good. That was a good movie. I enjoyed that.
I just
Paul and I used to go to
I just really.
Videomatica back in the day.
But I really. Pardon?
Remember Videomatica on 4th Avenue?
I do remember Videomatica. It was like,
No way. They knew us by our first names. We would come in and get 10 films, 10 VHSs a week each. It's true.
I was doing the foreign films when I was younger, man. Kurosawa.
Oh yeah, I do love foreign films, and I really like classics. There's so many good ones. Odd Man Out is one of my favorite black and white films.
Yeah.
There's so many. I mean, my goodness, I love Japanese film. I do love like a lot of Canadian stuff too. Actually, I didn't when I was younger, but it's really grown on me. And But I also watch all the blockbusters, and I try to. We have lucky to have a little theater here, but it's not like going to Silver City down there. But at least we have a lot of films that come here now, and we never used to more. Like they're really good. So I don't know. I would pick. Well, I do like the Lord of the Rings films too, but those are the books.
Yeah, good.
I don't know. I'd still probably pick Star Wars and maybe some. I just, it's really hard to narrow that down. And there's just too many movies I love. So, and there's some that I watch every year depending on the season. Like I have my favorite winter movies, and then I have some like ones that I watch only in the summer. And then there's sometimes I want Japanese anime movie, or I want something that's just not predictable. Not.
I'm watching Space Battleship Yamato.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
it's so good. Oh, it's epic. It's so real, and it's just when you get to Iskandar, that ship is like falling apart, and the uniforms are torn, and they're bloody, and they're out of food. Oh,
classic.
It's so. Do you see the movie? They made a live action movie.
I haven't. I haven't.
It's really good.
But if you like that show, you should watch Gatchaman. That's such a historical one. I love it. It's Battle of the Planets, but
What am I, an amateur?
One was Gatchaman, and the Gatchaman is so still holds up.
You guys are two peas of the same pod, man. It's amazing.
I would come home after school every day to watch Battle of the Planets.
Yeah, me too. And then I discovered the reel what it was based on. I was like, oh.
It was like therapy from being bullied. Well, Pauly used to protect me from the bullies back at Kids.
And what year was this when you guys were enjoying this?
Well, Battle of the Planets was like when I was just a kid. It was on in the 80s. And then that was the Americanized kind of redacted Gatchaman. They cut out all the all the violence and all the really nuanced storytelling and character-driven stuff, and then they added like little bits to make it more space-like, because it really wasn't taking place in space. But they, Star Wars hoopla came, and they wanted to tap into that, so they added their own animation with a little robot that looked like R2-D2. His name was 707. This was the Gatchaman's from 1972, but Gatchaman's was late 80s.
They made a live action Gatchaman. I haven't seen the whole movie.
I've seen pictures of it. I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, and there was the people who made Astro Boy. They did a 30-second CG Gatchaman. That you should check out if you haven't seen it. It's supposed to be a movie, but Astro Boy didn't make any money, so they unfortunately pulled the plug. They pulled the plug on Battle of the Planets. Paul, do you have another question for Marianne? I got a whole bunch more.
I don't know how much I want to. I'd rather hear about this remarkable story, but if you got a bunch of questions, if there's something that jumps out at you, go ahead, bro.
Okay, Marvel or DC?
Oh, man, that's a cruel question. I got all the time when I worked at the comic shop.
That was unfair.
Okay, I love both. Okay, there's things that I know each of them differently, though.
Right.
So, like for Marvel, I really got into X-Men. I really loved. I read so many Incredible Hulk issues. I liked Daredevil. Who doesn't like Spidey? I read some Avengers. There's just something about some of that storytelling, especially for certain moods, or like you wanted to have these kind of characters. And then DC. Well, I guess if I had to pick, it's hard to pick, but at heart, I still would say I'm a DC person, and I know that's not even the most popular. Okay, so my favorite comic for a long time was Justice League.
Wow.
Wow.
There you go.
I thought something else was going to happen for a second. I was like, wait, this is not a kid's film. A show.
No, it is my teacher.
Johnny, who's your favorite?
Superman's still my favorite.
I'm gonna go with the Dark Phoenix saga from the early '80s. Chris Claremont and John Byrne. When they took over that book, I mean, that story was just.
It was.
It had such a powerful ending, and I really thought Jean Grey was dead. I thought she's dead.
Y'all did.
And Uncle Ben dead. She's not coming back. And then they brought her back. And I fucking shit. I can't do this anymore.
No, it was good storytelling, yeah, and good art too. Like, yeah.
And she became so powerful that she threatened to destroy the entire universe. So, spoiler warning, she actually killed herself. And of course, it's
interesting in your questions. Who's your favorite superhero? Whatever. We're talking about that, and there hasn't been any mention of a female superhero.
Oh, well, that's like there's a lot of like back then though, like when I was growing up, there weren't that many really good ones. I mean,
Wonder Woman was the best.
Wonder Woman and Black Canary, and they were in the Justice League. So yeah, I did like a lot of female characters, but the ones that like really good storytelling at the time were mostly male, and so I'm still like hugely fond of like a lot of female characters that are not necessarily superheroes, but really good supportive characters are out there too now, and they're really getting developed, and there's more creators now too. That helps. But like even the way Lois Lane is portrayed these days compared to like the old days, it makes a difference.
There'll never be a Superman like Christopher Reeve. There'll never be a Lois Lane. Those two again. Did you watch the new Superman? How was that? I never got around to seeing it.
I did. I was really excited about it. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed Snyder's the Snyderverse movies. I did. Henry Cavill, who's what's not to like, really. But I did really enjoy the new one. I kind of was anxious about it because I really wanted it to do well. I know it's the new Superman, but I just had a feeling of watching a comic book on the big screen, and there was that feeling of optimism and excitement and joy, and like there's still an interesting plot and really neat characters all along, and the way even Lex Luthor was portrayed was kind of more nuanced. And I remember I took my twin sister at one of the showings, and she goes, "You know what? I felt sorry for Lex Luthor because he's crying at the end." And I'm going, "But what about the good guy? He was pretty evil." But yeah, no, it was good. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to Man of Tomorrow. Yeah.
I think he's a better fit for that character. Because Superman should be kind. He should be good-natured.
That's what I was most
Henry Cavill to me is he's too manly. He could be James Bond or Rambo, but he's too rugged for me for Superman. It's nitpicky, but Tom Welling would be the closest approximation to me to Christopher Reeve. I love Smallville back in the day.
I did love Smallville. I never got to work on it, but I did meet Tom Welling once on another show. He was in a remake of The Fog, and I was in a background extra. I was out in No, it was out in Fort Langley. Yeah.
You know what? I met Sam Jones, who played Pete Ross on that show.
Oh yeah.
And I used to work at a bank as a security guard, and I met a lot of actors. I met almost the whole cast of Battlestar Galactica came to that bank, and I would lose my mind.
Battlestar Galactica, the old one.
The new one.
The new one. Okay.
Really good. I see Grace Park walking down the Main Street in Vancouver. I'm like, it's Grace Park. I shook her hand, and she was super nice to me. I was going somewhere, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I was working in the bank as a security guard, and I met Pete Ross.
Are you boxing the table that you're sitting at?
Wow, Sam Jones.
Yeah.
And like the next day, he was incarcerated. He went to prison.
Oh no! Really?
Really bad thing, apparently. We don't know, but it was a pretty harsh.
Hey, we're happy to have you back and do a comic book series. Anytime, absolutely. Which is a polite segue to Johnny. Let's keep the questions going, bro.
Now, Marianne, clearly you have a creative spirit and
very much so
desire to write. You absolutely have the need to pump out one kick-ass novel after another, a graphic novel, a screenplay. Now, I don't want to get overly personal, and I'm not criticizing you, but I can tell you what stopped me from doing it for such a long time is fear. Fear is the most universal of human conditions. But in 2019, I started writing like a madman, and ever since then, like every time I open my notebook, I like 2-3 pages. You absolutely have the capacity to do that. So, what is stopping you? Or you just something you want to do, but maybe not for teaching?
Oh well, it's not really. I wouldn't say it's fear so much as like two things. One is that there's just so little time. I'm so busy just trying to survive right now that I haven't had a lot of time to devote to my writing. And secondly, like it's so hard for me to like all these projects I finish or start and then have trouble finishing. That's probably adult ADHD, and so I still struggle. I have like a novel that I've been on chapter 14 for a while now. I have that's one reason I went to do my master's degree, because I knew they would make you finish your thesis. I need that. Like I need someone to crack the whip. I need to have
deadline. Yeah. That's human nature.
And I want to turn that thesis into a nonfiction book, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But so that's mostly practical things right now.
What's the topic of your book?
The nonfiction one or the novel?
Both.
The novel is sort of a metaphor for the Holocaust, but involving supernatural or fantasy elements. So, like for example, werewolves.
Call Jerry Bruckheimer. Let's get him on the phone. Let's do this. Let's make it happen.
It's completely different. It has to do with melding my background as a filmmaker and as an educator and as a comic book geek. And it was like it's for a degree in theological and philosophical studies. So it's about using my background. Like I use comic book film specifically, and I have one chapter about anime as well, about how young people who are unchurched and are looking for the transcendentals of truth, beauty, and goodness through looking at Christ figures in comic book and anime film. Wow. So, like in terms of cinematic theory.
Wow.
I remember Jesus actually showed up in an issue of Ghost Rider back in the day. It was very controversial.
Oh, I bet. I imagine it would. Yeah. So Christ figures are like people that represent, but they're not actually Jesus. So Superman is considered a Christ figure in some circles.
That's
right?
true.
So is Optimus Prime. So is several others. And so I had some case studies, and it was really fun research. It took a lot. It was from a very Canadian perspective too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the one movie you love that everyone hates? Everyone's like, "What? You like that movie? That's completely nuts."
Don't say The Exorcist.
I did watch The Exorcist. I wouldn't say it was my favorite movie. It scared me.
It's my favorite horror film. That was incredibly well done. The original.
It was.
Do you remember the comedy Secret Admirer with Kelly Preston? It was basically this is the sweetest movie ever made. It's so forgiving. I love everyone forgives each other at the end. It's a very heartwarming film, and everyone just poops all over that movie. What's your choice? Do you have one that comes to mind?
Well, when I was young, I really liked an animated film called Secret of Nim. It was based on a book that I loved called Mrs. Nim. A lot of people said it was schlock, and they didn't.
That movie.
No, it's not. I really liked it.
Oh.
And I loved Lady Hawk in 1985. Lady Hawk came out with Rutger Hauer, Matthew Broderick, and Michelle Pfeiffer, and I just adored that movie. And everybody was saying
really good, actually.
Terrible fantasy movie.
We love Richard Donner. We love every Richard Donner.
I do like Richard Donner.
Make a bad movie. All his movies are good.
So I was like all over that movie at the time. I was about 15, and it spoke to me. I loved the music. Everyone said this is the worst music ever for a fantasy film, but I really liked it. I still have the LP somewhere.
I completely forgot about Secret of Nim. That is a really underrated classic. It's such a good story. Yeah. Paul, do you have any more questions?
I want to get into the meat of it, because I'm really fascinated on the sociological and psychological effects prior and after such a traumatic event. And your event, by reading what I've read on your Facebook page, and I encourage anybody watching the show to read it, because it's really an incredible, profound, and powerful piece of writing that comes straight from the heart, the spirit, the soul, and a place of fear, of redemption, of hope, of being entirely scared. And when this whole thing founded, was life going along swimmingly for you? Everything was butter. The sunshine was beautiful. The bees were out. You could smell the flowers. You got a job. Everything was fine. And that day, when it happened, was there anything that you can remember prior to the day that were signals or angels perhaps reaching out to you? Because a lot of people say the angels will give you telltale signs. And were you scared of anything? Were you happy? Do you remember that day so vividly prior? to getting into the car and what was going on in your world? Was anything affected the accident? What was going on prior to you getting in the car?
I remember thinking that I had really been looking forward to that day, ironically, because I'd had a very, very stressful term too, for a lot of reasons at my work, to do with my job and my administrator, or my principal, and it was really a harsh term. So I was just looking forward to surviving and getting to that moment where I could know I would have a break of 2 weeks, being spring break. And so I was like, oh yeah, I've made it, I've survived, I'm gonna I can do this. And so I was already thinking that things were gonna start looking up.
But you were already thinking about surviving, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I was, because it was a tough term for, yeah, kind of a complicated work reason. So a little bit of injustice that happened. I won't go into details, but it was really hard on me and on my health, because I was already exhausted and burnt out, and often teachers get that way, but this was really, and I thought, oh my goodness, okay, but I can get through to spring break, so I'm gonna really feel like I've made it and I can celebrate, kind of thing, even if it's just in a quiet way. But I thought I would try to do this task before I could rest and celebrate. It snowed that night before, and so I thought, on the way home after doing my garbage and recycling, I'll go for a ski. So I threw my ski equipment in the car, cross-country skis, in the car, so I could go for a ski, because it might have been one of the last snowfalls we would get.
Is this up in Williams Lake?
Yeah, this is up in Williams Lake, and then so I had all that stuff in the car, and a lot of stuff I was taking out of my library and classroom to take home for the break. I didn't want to leave in the school, including the winter things,
So was it a sense of exhilaration, a sense that school was finishing, that you were stressed, that you really wanted to look forward to going for a ski and enjoy the fresh air? And it's a beautiful part of the world in Upper British Columbia. British Columbia is larger than it's. People have no idea how big British Columbia is. I think it's bigger than France and Germany put together.
Big, yeah.
And you can throw Italy in there. There's still room. There was a sense of you were elated, you were relieved, you were focused on the future, you were excited about moving on from the stress, and were you thinking about anything else?
Well, of course,
do you remember
the things I needed to take care of, and one of the reasons I moved up here, why I left Vancouver, was because of my mom. She's here, and she's an 80-year-old senior.
Right.
And so she has some medical issues of her own, which I felt too far in Vancouver every time there was a crisis. And so life is short, and I came up here. Also, Vancouver's very expensive, but that wasn't the main reason why I left.
Everything's expensive no matter where you are these days.
Yeah, it is expensive now here too, but Anyway, so I was thinking of all these things and the things I would had to do, and I was looking forward to doing.
But you were focused and you were pragmatic, and just everything was fine. Everything was going good. Not a care in the world. You were excited.
Was the other driver injured?
No, thankfully. And that's the other thing I kept thinking of afterwards, and going, thank the Lord nobody else was hurt. Because he could have been hurt badly, because he was really coming fast, but he was in a big pickup, a Dodge it turns out to be. I couldn't have told you even the color of it at the time. It happened so fast. But no, I could have slammed into pedestrians. I mean, it was a country road, but or gone into somebody's property through their fence.
So he was cutting the corner and cutting the lane.
Yeah, he just flew around.
It wasn't that he slipped or hit black ice or anything.
No, it was snow. There was snow on the side of the roads, but the road itself was dry and bare.
Okay.
So though afterwards, after I regained consciousness, and I couldn't see a thing. It was down the slope and the window.
So what happened prior to that? You're driving along.
Yeah, driving along.
And then
I slowed down for these because it's a little curvy section of this.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Big road, and then suddenly I only had not even a second. It was just half a second or microsecond where I realized this truck coming towards me was actually in my lane, coming right directly at me.
Did you see their face? Sometimes people say that they can see the.
No, not at all.
What was your first? You remember the first thing before you got hit? Was there any split second?
There was
where your consciousness, your angel said, "Hold on," or something.
I didn't have time to do anything actually.
Did anything slow down?
Yes,
Did anything slow down during the accident that you can remember?
No, not really slowed down. It happened fast, and then I just remember that crunch, that bam, and I lost consciousness for a few seconds, because there's a few seconds missing. And when I opened my eyes, I couldn't see anything because all of the airbags had deployed. I didn't even know my car had side airbags, so thank goodness my little car that I missed so much.
I know, I saw the photo. Wow.
And so I couldn't see anything, but I could hear someone swearing up above somewhere. I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, it was probably the guy that hit you.
Yeah, oh, it was. Yeah, he was a young guy. I now know a bit more. I didn't know until even just this week what his name was, and I'm not going to say it or anything. But he's just a really young guy,
okay.
And
he must have beside himself, I would imagine.
Yeah, he was only on a class 7, which I think is an N.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, I mean, his vehicle was totaled as well. In fact, the tow truck driver later, when we went to the tow yard the next week looking for, it's really, there's a lot of extra stress because
I'm sure, to bring up this stuff really quick, and that's why I was asking in the pre-show about if you're comfortable sharing it and everything, but when you got hit, you don't remember anything about getting hit? Like you heard a crunch, but that was it?
I remember feeling it.
Oh, okay.
I remember feeling it because it was so massive.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
So huge, and
You're very lucky.
the jolting as well. And I remember after I woke up, the first thing I kind of screamed a little bit, but it was almost more not from the pain. I couldn't really breathe, but it was like I instantly knew. I remember my first thoughts thinking I instantly knew my vehicle was gone, and I didn't know if I was hurt or anything. I couldn't tell if anything was really bad yet, but it was just that shock of it, and then I knew that was that's going to sound really horribly petty, but I'm thinking my spring break is ruined, my evening of bliss is gone. I don't even get one night. I remember
my God, such a sweetheart. That's crazy. So when you look at the photo, it looks like you were going obviously in the right lane. This person was coming around a bend that took the corner and smoked you here.
in my
What was on your right hand side?
So on the right side was a steep embankment covered in snow and then trees down below.
Oh my God, man. Worst case scenario, because that car is not very big, and you're talking about an amazing amount of force.
Yes.
And the damage doesn't look as bad as, I mean, I've been in a few car accidents myself. It would look bad, but for the plastic cars that are made, I think somebody was looking over you that moment.
So too, like my guardian angel, up above.
So you went straight off the road?
Oh yeah, straight off the road. But I didn't roll. I mean, it could have been so much worse.
Do you remember going off the road?
No, I don't really remember that. I just remember.
Oh my God!
I was way down there, and then they had so much trouble getting me out because of being steeply down the bank. And
how far were you off the bank? Down on the bank?
Not too far. Several feet, but not way down there.
Okay, that's good.
It wasn't luckily not a river.
Like the Coquihalla where you could just fly off a mountain.
Exactly, it's not like that. So it was.
That's not fun.
Lucky. And also just lucky in general because I know people have had.
Your angels, man, they were right there with you.
Yeah, I do think so. That's why I felt so, you feel like a mix of emotions. You feel like kind of sad, anger, grief, worry about the future. Like I still have I don't think I can afford to replace my vehicle now, and I just found out on Friday that they're going to give me squat, like half.
Oh, so it was a total write-off?
It was a total write-off, and I was really hoping to get them. Kind of was attached to it.
Is squat? Does that mean money in a different language, or nothing?
Nothing.
I'm joking. That's ridiculous.
Marianne.
What's the point of having insurance?
No, I was so surprised. I just got this call this on Friday after school, so I'm still
sorry to hear that.
focusing on it. That they want to give me only half.
Sorry to bring all this up.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's just that I feel like it feels like in a way that you feel lucky at the same time you feel like you're being punished for something that you didn't do anything wrong. So, but that's what it feels like.
I think God, I like to think God kicks us in the can every once in a while.
Things do happen for a reason.
It's not going to last forever. So let's get to work and get something done.
I agree, but I just say at the same time, I don't believe in coincidence. I think things happen in life for a reason, and the reason why you're here today is forever your way to find out exactly what that was. And since this has happened, since it's only 30 plus days ago, and you look so effervescent and healthy, and
kind of still injured on my left side. Like
I'm
still walking with a cane most days. And
so you got to rehab for a bit?
Yeah, I have to do that. I haven't gone to physio
Sounds
yet,
like you're very fortunate, though. I really...
Still have some internal injury on my left abdomen that's bothering me, but I have another doctor's appointment tomorrow. And then I'm supposed to be getting, some physio coming up. So,
but mobility, you're able to, in this short time, are you able to go back to work?
Yeah, I went back to work probably too early.
Wow.
I went back quite early because it's a lot complicated because of my job. It was very difficult being away. I had more anxiety about not being there for
Of course.
very specific reasons for that job.
Yeah.
Then so I went back a little too early, but I kind of had to.
Because you were worried about maybe losing the job?
Yeah, well, not so much like that, because it's, well, the job.
You're just anxious to get back to the gig, right?
Yeah, and there's things that happen when you're away, and then it makes it harder to return. It's so much more to take care of after you have a TOC, especially because I juggle so many balls at that particular job. Like, I wear many hats, and so it just makes it difficult. And I still have to plan a little bit for a TOC, and it's really hard to do that remotely in my position.
How old are the kids you're teaching? What's your
well, I had school from K to 6. So I teach all of them K to 6, depending what subject. So I have them all for library, and then I have some classes for PE as well, and also music or arts education, learning support, and French grade 5-6, which is probably one of the hardest ones to teach.
Yeah,
I bet they were thrilled to see you again when you came back to school.
Yeah, it was really nice to see the kids, and some of them hadn't been told, so they were going, "Why are you walking with the cane, Miss Kirk?" And like, yeah, and so some of them.
Nobody told anyone?
Some of them didn't know, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
But, we try to keep it, like, it's the teacher's business.
On the down low, no, I understand, but at the same time, you've got to let your students know where your favorite teacher's gone.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
I want to ask Marianne about some of the celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
Oh, when she worked at the comic shop?
Yeah.
Well, there's two. Yeah, I had two. At the comic shop, there was two major celebrities that I recall. There was, well, three, kind of.
By the way, everyone, just so you know, as a reference, the comic shop was located on 4th Avenue, right at Catsalano, where the Catsalano, they have a music festival every year, and they block it off from Burrard Street all the way to, think, Stevens. And it is an amazing stretch of Kitsilano, and the comic shop was just located right off Cypress. And were you working with Keith at the same time?
Yeah, we became good friends. He and Brent and me, and then there was only a couple other female workers there in all the years that I was there. And I was there 14 years off and on.
Wow.
And I took a break for 3 years when I came up to begin my teaching career. And then I returned to it when I returned to Vancouver in 2000. Just sort of like a hobby job, and that was really awesome. But one time I was full time, and there was Colleen in the dungeon.
Yeah.
The
dungeon. That's where Dave used to work after Colleen.
Dave and his car.
Sold paperback.
And and then there was people like Geneva was sometimes there too. She was the other female.
Wow, I can't believe this flooding of memories. It's unbelievable, bro.
You asked me about my first day at the comic shop, so I'll just answer that because
please.
So clearly, because I was like working before. I just graduated my degree, and I was trying to work in the film industry. But I had a roommate in Kitsilano on Broadway, and then I had this little job at a clothing store, and it was horrible. I was miserable. I'd never done that kind of job before.
Yeah, retail's tough.
Every day I wanted to quit, but like. I used to be a customer at the comic shop for years when I was in university. I first discovered it back in this is the 80s, like late. I started UBC at 87. So I would go into the comic shop. Sometimes I go to Golden Age too, but and then I kept going in there, and then I'd buy comics and whatnot. And got to know some of everybody there. And then suddenly said they were hiring, and like that fall it was in June. And I said, well, I may as well go for an interview. So I brought my resume, and Ron gave me a call, and I got to go in. And I remember that interview because it was upstairs. And I remember one of the questions he asked me was, okay, do you play Dungeons & Dragons? And I laughed out loud because I thought, that's a real question on an interview?
That's the best kind of question for a comic book shop.
Yeah. And I said, well, I don't play now, but I used to. I understand the game pretty well.
Yeah. Fun game.
Reminds me of that Get a Life sketch from Saturday Night Live. Remember when William Shatner was at the convention, and all the hardcore nerds were asking these impossibly trivial questions, and Shatner's like, have you ever kissed a girl?
Yeah.
Seriously.
SNL one, yeah. Anyway, this was really fun. I still remember my first day because I was sitting, waiting for the store to open at the bus stop across the street from the doors, and going, I suddenly got really excited and going, I know it's just a minimum wage retail job, but I'm going to be working in comics. I'm going to be Superman and Spider-Man and Batman, and I'm going to be, and I thought this was the coolest thing. And science fiction novels and fantasy. I thought, Yeah, so it's a great. Didn't know how long I'd be there at the time. It was just starting out. It was only a 3-month trial period first, and
Yeah.
it fit in, so I got hired on full time. And yeah, it was like I was really grateful to Ron, and I really miss everybody so much still. We were like a little family.
Oh, it was
and,
a wonderful, wonderful time. It was. I remember that bus stop was across the street, and I always remember if I ever had to go on that side of the street to buy vinyl, and I couldn't afford the Black Swan because their vinyl was premium. But I just every once in a while they had a monthly discount bins, and I'd go in there and look for old Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and old AC/DC, and I mean that hood was just electrifying. Johnny and I talked about it so much. We're actually going to talk about Kitsilano as a thing, but we wanted to bring in the near-death experience because I mean, I just find it fascinating about near-death experiences. If I didn't survive my first one, second one, third one, perhaps fourth one, maybe I wouldn't be so interested in why I did. Because I wouldn't be having this show, we wouldn't be talking about it. But just very quickly, the reason why I'm fascinated by it is because I've had my own near-death experiences multiple times, like yourself, and I'm sure everybody else might have one or two. I haven't met anyone that hasn't had at least one that I'm aware of, that people I've got to know. But I did. Have you guys ever seen on YouTube? There's a channel on people that die and are in a state of in between, and then they see everything. They leave their body. They're looking down on their body.
Yes.
And then they go into the next stage of, the white light and the angels and the whole thing. Have you guys seen any of those episodes? They're unbelievable if you believe them.
Several videos over the years of that as well. And read about some. There's actually a book just recently published that someone was recommending about people's near-death experiences, and they're leaving, and for a little bit of they're actually clinically dead, which and then they come back, and those are the people that I think are most profoundly changed by their experience.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that, so in a way that's good, but it's also sad. I didn't quite go that far. I don't think I was that as close to
that
death.
Deep. Yeah, no, but nonetheless, very traumatic.
And they say they've encountered Jesus, for example, or they definitely can see what's happening with their loved ones, and they're technically...
They remember the angels taking them up into that next phase, and some of them going deeper, 20 minutes into it, you can see that the bright light of the city and some galaxy or universe or solar system and all of the angels, and then they walk you through your life and they show you all of the good and bad and the wars and all the times you lost your mind or did something bad. And it's just fascinating that some of these people can go there and actually have these profound memories and come back. Now, you didn't do that, and that was why I brought it up, because I was curious on how deep you went. But at the end of the day, you went through this. Do you feel that there was any reason why you needed to go through this? Or was it just completely random?
You're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I felt like I was like in two. It's almost like two sides of the coin. In one way, I felt like it was just purely bad chance. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I remember really regretting it because I remember I'd forgotten something important at school. I was driving out, and it was getting kind of late in the day, and the petrol station closed at 5:30. So I thought I should go back and get that thing that I really needed. It was a paper I needed. And then go on, and then I didn't because I was afraid, I better no go because I still want to do the ski, so I'll come back on the way back home because I passed the school on the way home. And then I remember really regretting that, going,
And if you did, you probably would have missed that.
I would have missed it, yeah, and I would have, if I could go back in time. So I really was beating myself up over that. On the other hand...
But it wasn't your fault.
No, but...
It was the angels giving you an opportunity.
It's my fault.
Probably this interview wouldn't be happening right now if that hadn't happened. Right?
Yeah.
And bad things happen because good things happen as a result of those things.
So that's the other thing, is that when things happen like this, sometimes there is something you have to learn from it or gain from it or overcome to be stronger, to be better, to grow as a person. So every time you do face trauma or negative things, sometimes there is a reason for it. As my sister keeps telling me, her favorite quote is, everything happens for a reason. But it's still hard because it's still ongoing. I'm not recovered. I don't have another car like that, and I'm going to need at least an all-wheel drive before winter because where I live, I can't even get out of the driveway. without.
Hey, Johnny, could you be a good chap and get on YouTube and start a what do they call it on YouTube for Marianne so she can get another car?
No, it's okay.
How do you get to work?
What do they call those things? They work.
Are you checking out GoFundMe's?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. No, there's so many people way more needy than
No, I understand. I wasn't being facetious. I was just saying that.
Of what a car's worth. I just will take a.
Yeah, but how do you live up where you live without a vehicle? Like,
I know,
come on.
It's hard because like there's not like where I live. There's no transit. There is a little bus in the town now. In fact, my mom's husband.
Wow.
He drives transit buses. His retirement job.
Cool. That's a nice gig right there.
He doesn't come up here, so it was really hard. I just was really lucky because I still hung on to my tiny little. I have a tiny little beater. That's just a little tiny summer car, like as a little hatchback, and it was dead in the driveway, and I had to spend about $1,000 just to have it so it could drive around locally. But it can't go on the highway, and it's definitely not good for winter. So I have something right now that I can get to school with because I had no way of getting even to school.
Cool.
But it's hard to drive because it's standard, and it hurts still kind of due to the clutch.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky that I got it, and it still costs.
Because the clutch is on your left foot.
Yeah.
Now you'll get there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's amazing. And your attitude, I mean, honestly, you just got such a lovely, effervescent... you like this all the time, or are you just putting on your best glow for the show?
I like what all the time?
No, it's just you're just bubbly and funny. And Johnny spoke a lot of really positive things, and he says you're just wonderful and full of life and charming and intelligent and
I wish some of my colleagues felt that way about me. I think that some of them are frustrated with me right now.
Really?
I'm not actually. Yeah, I don't know.
You gotta heal.
Places where I've been very felt very at home and popular. Right now, I feel like I'm really struggling right now in this time in my life. So I'm not putting my best foot forward, and I want to at work.
Okay.
With some people, I think it's fine, but other people, you're not gonna not everybody's gonna be your fan.
No, I mean, in a small town like that, everybody knows everybody, right? And some people just, I love
them. I like them, but sometimes I feel that,
Yeah.
And I don't know how much clarity I am. I am a little bit hard on myself. Everybody keeps telling me that, so it must be true.
Just keep real, keep true to your heart, spirit, and soul. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
I think so.
I am trying.
What advice would you give your 13-year-old self? You go back in time and you have a 13.
It's a very awkward 13-year-old that I.
Oh God, what a tough time too.
Grade 8 was my worst year ever for my education. That's when I started developing a really severe inferiority complex. I remember.
I'm sorry, what kind of complex?
Inferiority complex.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's normal. 13, yeah.
Yeah, and the girl didn't really help. That it was my bully.
Of course, even worse, right?
Whack, right? And before we moved out to Puncie, and and I started internalizing it and believing it. Her nickname for me was Homely, and and I just remember she even found where my locker was and would track me down, and it was horrible. You'd wake up every day and pray you wouldn't run into her, kind of thing. And so I really feel for kids that are bullied, and I really fight against that at my school.
Oh my God! You watch Johnny. What happens to him right now? I had to save Johnny in high school numerous times.
Emilio Estevez.
If I heard that somebody was beating up on Johnny, I'd run over I'd find out where he is. I'd run over immediately, and I'd break it up right away.
I would hit the Paul signal.
And I'd say, listen, and if I'm not intimidating enough, and I wasn't, I just wanted Johnny not to get hurt, and then give them a good berating.
Yeah.
And tell them if they didn't sort it out, I know everybody in this school and some of the toughest mofos and kids, and it's not going to go well, bro. So learn to love the blonde, tall geek, because he's a kind and generous soul.
Mm-hmm.
Used to drive me nuts.
He is.
I think that's all my questions. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, we're almost at an hour. It goes by when you're having fun, and it goes by fast. But
I keep going on because I didn't even tell you about the celebrities. You asked me that question.
No, we're going to answer that first, but we do have to close up because Johnny takes a good chunk of the last part of the episode for his writing and his pun And
many novels that he's written.
he's the most shameless promoter of oneself that I've ever met in my life, and he loves
Now
it.
streaming on Netflix. Lee Hackland, private investigator, executive producer, John Leister. It's going.
I know. But please answer that question because it's really kind of you to remember it. I don't know if Johnny did.
Well, just because I was thinking about it. But yeah,
Oh,
besides
cool.
people I met in the film industry, and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson was probably one of the nicest guys. And so
Oh,
was,
yeah.
so was Kevin Sorbo, Hercules. He was
Yeah, I actually worked with Kevin Sorbo.
And Ben Affleck, I got to work with him once, and he was actually really surprisingly nice. Yeah, I shouldn't say surprisingly, but at the time,
Apparently, when he drinks, he's a lot nicer than he's now that he's sober. But
a movie called Paycheck. But at the comic shop, I remember we had two people I'll mention. Robin Williams came in at a bunch of the first Jumanji.
He was in the comics,
He
right?
was so cool.
he went there often, Johnny. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Every
and
time he was in Vancouver, he'd go by.
we ended up being on first name basis. I remember the last day he came in. I remember being really kind of excited when he first came in, but nobody bothered him, so he kept coming back because he was comfortable and it was cool. And I remember one day I came down from lunch from upstairs. I was standing at that front counter waiting to get my turn back there, and Robin Williams was standing right next to me, and I didn't see him. I was just standing there, and he turns around and goes, "Oh, hey, Marianne, how's it going?" "Oh, hi, Robin." And
Hey,
then-
Marianne, he was stalking you. Don't worry about it.
it was nice. It was cool. And the other
Did he show you his hairy chest? That guy had the hairiest chest.
no way.
It wasn't. Hey,
Yeah.
if you think he has the hairiest chest, and trust me, because one of my wife's best friends is someone I went to school with at KISS. I won't mention her name. And she got to know Robin rather closer than most, I guess, if you will. And he was basically a full Sasquatch from the apples at him down.
I didn't know that. Oh,
He had a hairier back than his chest.
oh wow.
Yeah, it was just a hairy guy.
He did a little scene for us right on the stairs because Dave, the card room
Yeah,
guy, gave him a Mickey Mantle card that looked just like Robin Williams. It was a very valuable card, and he just gifted it to him. So he was delighted and did an improv right there with the card.
Oh, it must have been like a 7 or 6 or a 7, because even back then a 6 or 7 would have been worth a lot of money. But Robin Williams is very charming, and he was there often.
Yeah, and the other guy.
Even Keith mentioned Robin. He served Robin as well.
Yes, because he came in so many times.
Well,
But the only actor I
what was
got
your
flustered
favorite
about was Richard Dean Anderson. He came in one day, and I'd always grown up loving MacGyver and liking Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
And so I probably had a bit of a celebrity crush on Richard Dean Anderson. So I remember I was upstairs when he came by, and he bought some backboards for comics, and I kept hitting the wrong button on the till because I was flustered. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. There's something wrong with the till." I was so embarrassed. He
Was that the old till that you guys had, the original one? Do you remember?
the original one upstairs?
Oh
yeah.
my God, man! I
And
forgot
it was
about
so
that.
cool. And then Dana Delaney was with him, and I didn't know who she was by looking
Right.
at her.
The actress, yeah.
We were talking about this giant. I don't remember that big piece of art on the wall that was done by Superman and Batman animated series.
Oh my God!
Paul Dini and what was the artist's name? Anyway, he'd done this whole one, and he included
Bruce Timm.
Yeah, Bruce Timm. So I
Good
got
job,
his-
Johnny.
I got his first Superman that he did when he came and
It's
visited us.
great. It's full of very useful information.
Art. Anyway, he did the Bruce Timm had big framed thing. He included some of the comic shop staff in the art with the Justice League. And she's looking at it and said, "Oh, she goes, I know Bruce Timm." And I go, "Oh yeah, how do you know him?" She goes, "Oh well, I play the voice of Lois Lane on Superman."
Right,
I go, "Oh my God, you're Dana Delaney!" She was like so delighted to be remembered, and they were very charming. It was a very nice day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting. It's really nice to be able to meet someone that, in a parallel universe, at some point decades ago, we all lived and worked and hung out and got to meet and create memories. And really, really happy to hear that the accident, is traumatic as it sounds and is and was and will be for some time until one deals with it. But it sounds like you were very fortunate, and the angels were with you. And aside from not having a vehicle, you've got the beater for now.
Yes.
And
I'm lucky to have it. So
I think your spirit, the essence of your spirit and your angels, and the kindness, you just glow. And I think there's good things for you. And I just, on behalf of Johnny, I'm really happy that you had this opportunity to share this story with us and your stories and to meet you finally, because Johnny's spoken very highly about you, and certainly in the last
I was very
week or
surprised
so.
You agreed to do the podcast. I was afraid that you might be a little bit shy, but it turns out to be not the case at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Just that I also love talking.
Yes, and she has attention deficit disorder, so she can forget about what she just talked about 5 minutes ago, because we're going to keep it fresh and we're going to keep it content driven, right, Johnny?
Okay.
Oh, 100%.
But in the meantime, before we go, Marianne, thank you again for joining us, and we're going to have you back. I'm thinking next time, if you want, next time we could do a comic a thing with Keith and have all four of us on.
That'd be so great.
And let her rip. Yeah, we'll have to talk about it. Keith is really. When we first asked him, I thought he just, whatever. But he was still working the first time before I invited him. Johnny told me where he was working. He was at the comic shop down Main Street, Main and 10th. It's been there for quite some time, too. It's no longer with us, unfortunately, as many of them are.
No.
I know, it's really sad. It's just the whole 21st century has just changed. There's a few in Kelowna. There's 3 in Kelowna. And I've only been to one of them. So I'm going to, when I get some time and I can remember, I'm going to zip over because... really quick, I didn't have a big comic collection. Sorry?
Just a good one in Kamloops as well. And
I'm just not going to go take that hour and a half one-way drive unless I'm going to the resort.
Paul has a really amazing comic book collection.
No, I don't.
He's never read them. He's never read
really?
them.
I've never read a single comic that I own.
I read every comic
ever.
Really?
Ever. And never. I was a speculator, and I did it because I wanted to collect, and because all my friends were geeks, and they were all either comic book readers, writers, collectors, or drawers. And one of the best drawing artists that I've seen on comic books was a fellow that was living in Balfour Rentals as well. He's a Greek that I went to high school with. He's a couple years older than me. His name was Alex, and his drawing was extraordinary. It was good, if not better, than the guys that actually do the stuff on comics. And he used to do a cinema show where he would have movies on his projector screen, make popcorn and Kool-Aid, and pay and invite 50 cents to watch a movie and popcorn in his basement. And we'd go, and he'd show us comics, and it was really incredible. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. I'll leave that up to Johnny and others that have ADHD more than I do. But before we go, Marianne, Johnny wants to... you're going to read your latest episode?
Well, Paul, if you're going to twist my arm...
Absolutely, and if you could just remind everybody exactly who your character is and what it's about, and let her rip.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm a self-published author. My boy is named Lee Hacklin. He's a private investigator who lives mostly during the 1970s. I based him on Jan Michael Vincent, who's one of my favorite actors.
I love Werewolf.
Right? He's the coolest. He's absolutely the coolest actor.
He was a very handsome, charismatic young man.
He was.
Okay, here we go. Lee is a smoker, a drinker. He's a bit of a skirt chaser, but he has a heart of gold, and he likes to help people, and he's absolutely ruthless when it comes to dishing out justice on those who deserve their comeuppance. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1. Drunk Driving Miss Daisy. New York City, 1977. Okay, now, I have to warn you, this one's a little bit sad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Why did you stop driving, Lee? You were so awesome. You're the only one who thought so, Richie. Balls. You were good. You know you were. You got lazy. Guilty as charged. Hey, man, don't you effing cry on me. I've had enough of that shit. Mom and Dad and Janet, she's 5. You know what she calls me? She calls me super big bro. She's going to miss me the most. Don't say that, Richie. You'll be around long enough to drive a flying car. You didn't get to meet George Jetson. Are you happy, Lee? Sure. I don't think you are. I get paid to save the world. Like Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Lee Hacklin, hero for hire. You have the heart of a hero, Lee, but your brain is spelled N-E-R-D. You know me all too well, Richie. Before you go home, get some paper and some pencils and start drawing again. You know you want to. Don't put it off. I put off going back to school, and now it's too late. Richie, it's only too late if you say it is. I'm not the one saying it. God is. Still agnostic? Die in the wall. You should open your mind a little bit. People who believe in God tend to believe in themselves a little more. Now F off and get lost. Better yet, find yourself a woman before you wind up like me. And lose those damn blue buzzards. Blue buzzards are like red apple cigarettes. From Quentin Tarantino, I made it up. Every puff is a year off your life. Now off with you already. I need my beauty sleep. You think it's easy being this handsome? His name is Richard Delaney. He's 25. We grew up together. When we were kids, he loved to take things apart, put them back together again, only better. He's good at it too. He wanted to be an engineer. Last year, he competed in the New York Marathon. Now, he has bone cancer. Therefore, for the grace of God, I opened my eyes eventually. Therefore, for the grace of God, I opened my eyes eventually, and eventually started to for me and the reader. I pulled the blanket over his chest, shut the window with private room and Queen's General, and he closed his eyes for the last time.
All right, Johnny.
Sounds good.
And we do have one studio audience member. He is a young person that's watching this show and is really surprised how none of us seem to know what the hell we're doing. But he is very generous with his kindness, and we call him Johnny. And it's not the Johnny that you see there. It's a different type of Johnny because he's got a bit of a magic twinkle.
Oh, it's sound effects.
And he loves Johnny's writing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Well, I love you.
Thank you, Johnny. I mean, seriously, it's unbelievable. Seriously. But before we go, and Johnny needs to... He's got a thing about puns.
I like puns.
And he really likes puns. He likes good puns.
I'm a pun file.
You're punalicious.
Sign of intelligence.
Yes.
I was at a restaurant last night, and I asked the hostess, "Can I ask you about the menu, please?" She said, "The menu, please, are none of your business." Cheers. Oh, I'm reading Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Absolutely one of the greatest novels ever written. And
We were watching that back in the 80s.
Oh, the miniseries with Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones. Oh, so good. This is my second time. It's absolutely epic.
And we usually do bring up what we're reading, but it's the NBA playoffs, and I don't have any time to read right now. So, and the playoffs are on right now, so I want to pack this in. I want to thank everybody, and thank you, Marianne, for joining our show. I think it was a really good show, and I'm glad.
Honor and privilege. Thank you.
No, I mean, it was our privilege to be able to have a Canadian gal that is our first Canadian gal, bro. And and the best one to have. So sometimes the first is the best. And we're glad we did it, and thank you for that, for Johnny. And everybody, I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to bring everybody away from the screen. I like to show the downtown Vancouver and North Shore Burrard Inlet photo from the building I live in the downtown core, and ask people before we go to help the channel out. If you enjoyed this show, if you enjoy free content, At the Canadian Bro Show is the name of the YouTube channel and our podcast here. There's myself. My name is Paul Bale, the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show, and I thank you personally, not only for the possibility of subscribing, but for about 140 plus subscribers that have been kind enough to take the time out of their busy lives and grace us with a subscription, a like, a comment, a share. All of it helps the algorithms, as you probably heard a million times. At the end of the day, we've been at this for about 15 months, and we're learning every day. We're getting better, and it's we want to be here for as long as we possibly can. Thanks again, Marianne. Hopefully we'll see you again sooner than later. I am going to take you out of the scene. Johnny, I'm taking you out of the scene. Thanks, Marianne. We'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good
and thank you kindly for gracing us with this really good episode.
It's been a great experience. My first time.
Well, we're going to have you back, so we look forward to it. And thank you for gracing us with your talent and your effervescence and your personality. And we wish you the best and fastest way to heal from this very traumatic situation and accident. And you're here for a reason. So thank you kindly for joining. We'll see you next time. And Johnny, the same thing, bro. Thank you for bringing Marianne in, and we appreciate that and everything that you bring to the table. I'm taking you out, and I'm removing myself shortly thereafter. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Take care, bro. And thank you, everybody, for joining. You know the whole deal. If you really enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, share, comment. We love the comments, too. If you'd like to be on the show, if you have something you feel that you can offer and you're Canadian, We have had people that aren't Canadian, but we do like to focus on all things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny. And thanks again for joining us. And I am going to take myself out from the screen. In the backdrop is a photo from I'm in real estate. I'm a real estate agent and landlord and investor. And this is from my building, Paris Place in downtown Vancouver. I've actually sold 26 units in this building over the years, and it is beautiful. If you've not seen Vancouver from this perspective, enjoy, and we'll see you next week at the Canadian Bro Show. Thank you very much for joining us.